Winning the daily battles of life means we need to quit being soft and tender and sensitive about what is resisting us and enter that dogfight. And that means being ferocious, or as I've been saying all this week, creating density to your intensity, right? Getting more dense about your intensity, compacting that, all these multiplicity of reasons of why you should be struggling and winning, why you should have the supremacy in life. Let's get that compacted and tight, like that tight ball of string, like that bodybuilder's dense muscle. Let's get your intensity a hell of a lot more dense so that you can be ferocious and so that you can win in the struggle for the supremacy of your life. Creating density means doing things that are going to affect us more deeply, much the same as that bodybuilder who lifts that very heavy weight to stimulate more muscle fibers at a deeper level. Now, this creates a thickness that helps him or her to really stand out. And so you can tell, especially those bodybuilder judges, they can see when the muscle is not dense. Dense muscle just has a certain appearance to it. And it's a goal for these guys and gals. You know, we discussed self-talk and visualization and thought control. And as we go on to these last two techniques, we've got to improve our technique of self-control. And self-control is reaction. Okay, now this is different than self-discipline. We'll talk about self-discipline in a second. Self-control means controlling our reactions. And this is a tough one for people because a lot of us will run on autopilot, man, and we're just reacting to anything and everything that comes along. Most of us live more by reaction than we do by deliberate action. We are responding to situations out of our emotions with little consideration of the consequences or the outcome. That's reactionism. When you are taking action, but you're doing it just naturally, just whatever comes into your head, whatever the natural way is for you to respond, and you have no consideration of the consequences or the outcomes of it. That's reactionism. The goal should be to create our behaviors beforehand in order to achieve predetermined outcomes. This takes maturity, man. This takes maturity. The goal is to create our behaviors beforehand in order to achieve predetermined outcomes. Let me tell you what this means. This means you need a mission statement of sorts when it comes to other people in your life, whether a family member, a friend, a coworker, an employer, a stranger, and even in regards to circumstances. You know, when you get a notice, a bill in the mail, or you're behind on payments or something like that, or, you know, you need to have a predetermined outcome that you settled upon before these things happen again. So, in other words, what's the main thing I want to have happen as a result of my interaction with the people in my life? What's the main thing I want to have happen as a result? Before I even encounter them again or the next time, what is the outcome that I want? We don't think about that. We just collide into people and react without any consideration for consequence or outcome. I mean, do you want to leave people inspired? Or are you wanting to put other people down so that you can be elevated? You're always got to get the last word in. You're always critical. You're always correcting people so that you can elevate yourself. Or maybe just want to make them feel stupid so they're easier to control. You want to intimidate them with anger or moodiness or any of this other bullshit. You know, what is the outcome of relationship? Because a lot of people, man, they're doing it because of their own personal defense, their own personal fears of guilt, manipulation, trying to control others. Man, this is self-control. We got to get some discipline right here, man, because we are beating the hell out of each other. We're devouring each other. It's happening nationally right now. People are just flying off the handle online, just flying off the handle. They have no desire, even for a stranger, to have a desired outcome in mind. You know, let these things, these mission statements that you have, these desired outcomes, determine the way that you react to people. You know, that's why I can have, and I do, have people that are following me on social media, and they're from all over the political spectrum or the social spectrum. I mean, they believe all kinds of stuff that I don't believe necessarily. But my goal is to win and influence people. And if I start going off on things, then it's sure to alienate people for the wrong reasons. And I don't want to do that. So am I being a compromiser? No, I'm not being a compromiser. Because sometimes, yes, you've got to make a stand about something regardless of the consequences, because it's just the right thing for you to do. But fighting on Facebook over politics or something is not a hill that you and I should want to die on. But see, that's what people do. They say, no, I'm standing up for the truth, and I'm defending what's right. But come on, man, nobody ever wins a Facebook argument. You're not changing anybody's mind. It's really not about the other person. It's about you. And that's one way to judge it. When you're acting in a situation or reacting in a situation because it's really about you, it's about you venting your anger, it's about you showing the liberals or you showing the Republicans or whatever, that's about you, man. Okay, that's not standing up for the truth. That's just the sunshine you're blowing up your own ass. Okay, that's not standing up for the truth. Lastly, there's self-discipline, which, as I said, is different than self-control. Self-control, again, is about reactions. Self-discipline is about getting yourself to do those things you need to do when you don't feel like doing them. But in short, we'll create self-discipline primarily in two ways. This is how self-discipline is created. You have the parent who has a rebellious kid. They want to send them off into the military. Well, the military, why? Because they want that kid to learn self-discipline. Well, the way you learn self-discipline in the military is by threat of punishment, right? So, because if you don't get up and make your bed and clean up your area or get everything in order by the time the sergeant comes in there, then what happens? Well, then you're going to be doing push-ups all day and cleaning bathrooms, right? So you're learning self-discipline by the threat of punishment. You want to avoid the punishment, so you learn this discipline. The problem is what happens when you take away the threat of punishment? You take away the threat of punishment, and then you're not going to be doing the disciplines anymore. So it may not instill in you discipline for the right reason. The second way that discipline gets created is by reward, right? The parent who tells you do these chores, you get this allowance, reward. They tell you, you graduate from high school with honors, you get this car, right? There is a reward for you creating discipline, for you doing things, that you don't necessarily want to do, but need to be done. Even when you don't feel like doing them, you'll do it because you keep reminding yourself, I get a car, right? Or I get an allowance, or I get this, or I get that. So the better way to create self-discipline, the lasting way to create self-discipline is by reward. And that means reminding yourself on a regular basis what you get if you maintain these disciplines. If you keep exercising, if you keep up with your diet, if you treat your loved ones right, if you show up on time, if you do the work, all of these things, all this discipline, if you maintain these things, you get this. If you have a better relationship with your spouse, you're going to get so many good things out of it. If you're disciplined enough to spend that time with your kids, you get so much out of it, and you list these things and you visualize these things and you meditate upon these things. If you do this in school or work or career, whatever, you get these benefits. If you keep up with the training, your body looks better. If you keep up with your diet, you lose all that weight. You start looking better. You're going to start feeling better. You're going to start walking around with more confidence, and etc. You got to remind yourself that there is reward for everything that you're doing. There is a reward, and that reward will create this self-discipline. So our self-talk, our visualization, right? Our thought control, our my mind's going blank here. The one we're just talking about, our self-discipline, all of these things together are the techniques that we use in order to win that daily struggle with life. It's a dogfight. And so these are all the things that you got to do. You say, man, that sounds overbearing, CJ. That sounds like a lot to do. Yeah, it is. It is a lot. Well, it depends on what kind of life you want to live and who you want to be. I want to be a champion. I want to do the very best I can. I want to maximize my life to the fullest. I want to create a new kind of humanity if I can. a new kind of humanity, raise up the level, because right now the present level of expectation is pretty mediocre. And so everybody's comfortable until you start getting people out there that start raising the standard and setting up a different example. How about you join me in that pursuit? Can you dig it? I hope you can.